Ladies and gents and everything in between. How we doing? Welcome back, guys. Welcome. Pull up a pew at this veritable last orders at the Titanic bar that we've all come to know and love and loathe as the podcast called Aid Thompson and Other Disappointments, guys. The show that seeks to put the world to rights over its many, many wrongs and indeed give your funny bone a funny boner. How you doing? People, Patreons, channel members, what's going on? Before we get into the actual podcast, I suppose I should big up the Patreon a little bit. If you're not on the Patreon yet and you want to support the show, or if you might be tempted by some of the benefits that you get if you sign up for the Patreon, you know, it starts at only £1 a month. I'm just saying, if you're enjoying the content and you don't want to commit to anything too pricey, you could literally just throw £1 in the kitty once a month and it's fine. It just means like a doff of the cap. I like your stuff, Aid. £1. But some of the other benefits are there, you know. We'll get onto the proper podcast stuff in a second, but some of the other benefits are there should you be keen or tempted or lured in by them. You can get episodes of the podcast 2 days before everybody else. You get invited into the Discord chat with folks like myself and Diz and Richard Marsden and Alex French is in there. Yuri, who else? Who am I forgetting? Hazel Hun jumped in the other day. Bowman was in there. Dave doesn't pop his head up too much anymore, but he's still in there. You know, he likes to watch, likes to keep a track of what's being said in there, but he doesn't pipe up too much. He just likes to watch in the corner. What's up, Dave? How you doing? So yeah, episodes of the podcast 2 days before everybody else. Invited into the Discord. You can have, if you're on like one of the tiers, I throw in a one-to-one Skype with me, with yours truly. We can have a beer together. You can ask me anything you like about the podcast, about life, love, the universe, politics, shit, and piss. I don't care. We could just have a good old time. And I've met a couple of people that way through the Patreon. Stu, I've had chats with. Mojo Sabian, Peter Del Monte, and I had a good chat. Anyway, there's a lot of benefits on there. I'll leave it to you guys. You can research it as you deem fit. What are we going to talk about tonight, though? Let's get into it. Let's get into the news and current affairs and things and stuff. Things like... what do I want to talk to you about tonight? I want to talk to you about Nigel Farage's next pivot in his Guinness World Record attempt to represent every sun-setting industry and company in the United Kingdom. Doesn't matter what industry it is, what company, he wants to be there right at the front of the queue representing it. Sun-setting companies. We're going to talk a little bit about his latest attempt to do that. We're also going to talk about why, even if your company, the company that you work for, even if your company is going down the pan, nay, sunsetting, we're going to be talking about why things actually could still be worse, guys. And of course, you know, in time, we will be dishing out this week's Tap Dancing Tosser Award. Who has illustrated, who has performed their own bellendry to such a standard that they are now bequeathed the award, the Tap Dancing Tosser Award, for this week? Who will that be this time round? I almost said this week twice in the space of 2 sentences. That would be bad presentation, wouldn't it? So, you know. But first, let's talk about something else. First, here is a story that I saw vomited up onto my feeds yesterday morning. Check this. It says, social media is now the main source of news in the United States, in and across the United States. Research suggests. That was on bbc.co.uk. The news site. Social media is now the main source of news. People's main source of news is now what they find in social media, according to a United States study, to which the only reasonable response is, well, yeah, It shows. It shows. It's not ambiguous. It's not, a shocker. To be honest with you, USA, and to some extent Western Europe, social media is now the main source of news for most America. I'd sort of reached that conclusion myself a while ago, actually. When I looked at the cosplay cretins overrunning Congress, invading government buildings, because they think they're in some imagined reality movie about stolen elections and the deep state and shit. Or like when they started talking about Jewish space lasers and chemtrails and 5G vaccines and crisis actors. I mean, I kind of figured. I kind of put 2 and 2 together there, lads. That maybe they weren't just repeating what they'd heard on the evening news that night. Maybe they were sourcing their information from elsewhere. Guys, social media is now, in North America, in the United States, it is the main source of news for most Americans. It shows. Guys. Honestly, it does. And the rest of the article makes for grim fucking reading. I can tell you that now. It really does. Sorry to be such a downer about these things, but it is basically the USP of this show, isn't it? I'm here to bum you out, aren't I? I'm here to disappoint you. But check out some of these stats, right? This is according to the Reuters Institute, which has now been reported by BBC News. And the Reuters Institute say more than half, 54% of people get news from networks like Facebook, X, and YouTube, various like reactionary channels on YouTube or X or whatever. 54%, and that's overtaking TV, which has slumped to 50%, and news sites and apps, which 48% of people use. Almost a quarter, 22% of the population had come across news or commentary from Joe Rogan. In the previous week, in the last 7 days, almost a quarter of Americans had been exposed to some of the highbrow, highly respected journalistic musings of Joseph Rogan. It says, personality-driven news represents a significant challenge for traditional outlets. And the report notes a trend where politicians give their time to sympathetic online hosts like Joe Rogan or Tim Dillon, or like, who are the other guys from that lot? Like The Fighter and the Kid is another one. And there's a sort of like the redneck guy does I forget his name, but all of that sort of Rogan sphere of podcasts who then go on to interview, JD Vance or Donald Trump or whoever. It says they note a trend where politicians give their time to sympathetic online hosts rather than be grilled by mainstream news and journalism style interviewers, which obviously enables them then to escape accountability, doesn't it? But they still get to appear like they're facing the public, don't they? But then they're rarely asked any actual, difficult, taxing, probing questions in those interviews. Like, have you seen the Tim Dillon one with JD Vance? Have you seen the Joe Rogan one with Donald Trump? It's like an hour or 2 hours of tummy tickling. Like, how is that facing the public? How is that accountability? In fact, conversely, rather than being held to account or asked really difficult questions, actually the hosts, according to this report, get implicated in spreading false narratives or even all-out disinformation. It says, despite their popularity, online influencers and personalities were named as a major source of false or misleading information by almost half of people worldwide, 47%, putting them level with politicians. So like your Tim Dillons, your Tucker Carlsons, your Joe Rogans are now seen, in terms of like spreading political lies, they are seen or perceived to be, off the back of this survey by Reuters, they are perceived to be every bit as dishonest as mainstream politicians. But there's something kind of, darkly, depressingly funny about that, isn't it? Like, where politicians warm to these reactionaries, to these podcast hosts, in the hope that it will make them appear more like the everyman. It will make them, the MAGA movement, appear kind of fun or funny or edgy or a little bit punk rock or so. I think there's something to that, right? They want to be on the Tim Dillon show. They want to be on Joe Rogan because they think they can borrow some credibility from these people. Borrow some cool. Mortgage some cool off Joe Rogan. And actually, it's the inverse. It's like, I don't think they get to look cool or borrow some cool or anything. I actually think Joe Rogan and Tim Dillon get infected with a dishonesty and brand cancer of fucking J.D. Vance, of the couch fucker. And here's the other depressing bit of this. The report also stated that usage of X, formerly known as Twitter, usage of X for news is stable and or increasing across many markets, with the biggest uplift in the United States. Like, how depressing is that? Like, for all of that talk of it keeling over, or people abandoning it, it's on its last legs, Elon's sacked too many people, or the advertisers have left it and now they won't be able to keep it running, it's not sustainable. All of that appears to have been wildly exaggerated, doesn't it? It appears to have been something of an overshoot, according to Reuters. Added that since Elon Musk took over the network in 2022, many more right-leaning people, notably young men. Oh, wow, the news just keeps getting better, doesn't it? This is thrilling. Many more right-leaning people, notably young men, have flocked to the network, to X, while some progressive audiences have left or are using it less frequently. In the US, the proportion that self-identified as being on the right tripled after Musk's takeover. Right, okay. Okay, but maybe you think, oh, well, that's America, That's all of that stuff, all the stats that you're talking about is in America. So that's whatever these problems are, Aid, however troubling these statistics are, that's America's problem to sort out, to root out. But then it says, in the UK, right-wing X audiences have also soared. They've almost doubled, apparently. And then you think to yourself, well, what about Blue Sky? What about all of us who fucked X off? Who just went, you know what? This is a bit too toxic. I'm all for the drama. I love a little bit of chaos, but this is a bit too racist. Now, when you're dropping the N-bomb, and I report it, and then it comes back, no, we looked into it, but apparently no terms and conditions were broken. It's weird. Like, what about all of us who sacked it off at that point? We ran away to Blue Sky. What about Blue Sky? But the survey results say rival networks like Threads, Blue Sky, and Mastodon are making little impact globally, with a reach of 2% or less for news. So 2% or less of people are getting their news from something like Blue Sky. Which maybe that isn't much of a surprise. I don't know. Like, I'm not sure that I use Blue Sky for news, particularly. I like the community aspect to it more. I like the absence of the racism and flag Twitter and sock puppet accounts and the absence of everything that X is now. Like, that's what Blue Sky brings to the table, is all the worst parts of X are just not there. It's safe. It's polite. There's no weird sock puppet accounts. That's what I get out of Blue Sky. Rather than the news. I don't go on Blue Sky to, like, check what's happening. It's where things are happening. It's not what I need Blue Sky for. I don't know how you guys feel about it. Cheers, by the way. It says, other key findings about news sources. So away from X, TikTok is the fastest growing social and video network used for news by 17% of people around the world, up 4 percentage points since only last year. It also says the use of AI chatbots to get the news is on the rise and is twice as popular among the under 25s than the population as a whole. So, what does that mean? The AI chatbot thing. Does that mean, like, the kids today and university graduates, right? Under 25s, so 22, 23. Does that mean that that grads and college students and stuff, they're asking ChatGPT what's going on with Iran and Ukraine or whatever? Is that what's... Because I think I'd rather that than they jump on X, to be honest with you. I think I'd rather they were running on ChatGPT and asking for an evaluation, a conclusion of what it is that's taking place, rather than they go on the fucking X deep fake fucking AI videos. Like, at least Grok and ChatGPT, at least they're close to reasonable. Aren't they? At least ChatGPT is kind of close to a reasonable person to engage with. Like, Grok is like the Twitter AI. Like, you can ask it questions and it just goes off to the internet and finds you the answer or performs analysis, right? So it's basically the same product. Grok, ChatGPT, DeepSeek, whatever. Grok is so reasonable that Marjorie Taylor Greene called it biased the other week, didn't she? Like, it highlighted... We talked about this, didn't we, on another episode of the podcast? It highlighted correctly that her actions don't actually align with her supposed Christianity. And she said in response that it was left-leaning. She said, like, Grok is left-leaning, which I love, because all it's doing, all GPT or Grok or DeepSeek, all any of them are doing is applying logic and facts to something and then trying to reach a reasonable, plausible academic conclusion, right? But the very presence of facts and reality is enough for Marjorie Taylor Greene to be like, no, that's a goddamn communist. It's a biased goddamn robo-Marxist, is what it is. It's powered by Jewish space lasers. It's what it is. Only God can judge me. Okay. It says, all generations still see trusted brands like the New York Times, Washington Post as reliable, with a track record for accuracy, even if they don't use them as often as they once did. The Reuters report is in its 14th year and surveyed almost 100,000 people across 48 countries. Wow. Like, I don't think it'll ever stop being outrageous to me that we don't regulate social media in the same way that we regulate, or we're supposed to regulate, traditional legacy media, the press, and so on. Like, if you publish an allegation in The Sun and you don't say he denies the charges, you know, if you just suggest that the guy is guilty, you are in a lot of trouble. You just are. That's why they always say, and of course he denies the charges, right? That's why they do that. Avoid trouble. They're not suggesting he's guilty. They're equally, you know, it's balance. He said that he denies the charges, so we're just telling you the state of it. You get the idea. If you broadcast a report on BBC News 24 or Sky News that says that shit about the allegations, and you don't give the guy, the person that's being accused, you don't give them time to respond before you put out your thing where you're basically retailing out the allegations without any challenge or balance or anything. And then if it turns out to be baseless, like, Ofcom will do a Lawrence Fox garden burning session with your broadcast license if you fuck around like that. Like, there will be fines. There'll be the withdrawal of the broadcast license. There'll be all manner of shit that could happen to you and your company, your studio, if you put out shit like that on the internet, which moves quicker. And now we're saying it's the dominant medium for news for most people now. Like, how is it still as bad as it is? How is it as unregulated as it still is now? Like, how is it possible that GB News can just go like, do you know what? I might just move a load of my presenters to online only, you know? So that way, Ofcom can't touch them. We can just say whatever the fuck we like. How is that possible? To still conduct your business, your news business, like that in 2025. To be so unregulated. You know, I don't want to make anybody's life harder or steal anybody's livelihood. I'm all for a bit of fun, you know, a bit of parody, a bit of comedic exaggeration here and there, but there should be a couple of checks and balances for actual news shows, for news channels, shouldn't there? There should be a couple of checks for the GB News YouTube channel, for X's videos. You know, like when somebody posts a video to X, and if it picks up speed, like really, really quick, gets a load of retweets, gets shared, and then it gets shared again from 100 views to 5,000 views, quick, and then 500,000 views, quicker. You know, like it's setting alarm bells off. There should be an Ofcom guy based on site at X that monitors those, shouldn't there? Like, there should be a regulator sat in-house at Twitter who sees these things when they match certain metrics. Oh, that one's blowing up. Oh, it's blowing up really, really quickly. Oh, my God, 5 million retweets in 20 seconds. They should sit there. They should go like, oh, look, okay. And what is it of again? Oh, it's a video of a refugee beating a 4-year-old white girl for fun. And it appears to be going viral. So maybe I, as a representative of Ofcom, sitting in-house at X, maybe I had better check that it's real. Oh, wait, no, okay, I have just checked. Right, it turns out that it was actually generated by Google VO3, and it's not really satire, is it? And it's from a brand new account with the IP set as St. Petersburg in Russia. Like, maybe this one here, maybe this is one to regulate Elon. Maybe this is... I'm just spitballing here, Mr. Musk. Maybe this one doesn't need to go out. Is all I'm saying. Well, there should be a couple of constraints out there, shouldn't there? You know, I don't think that's outrageous. I heard somebody describe free speech the other day as like it's a constant balance between protecting people from harm and allowing and celebrating freedom. And I feel like that's one of them, right? You've got to protect people from harm. You can't have disinformation just flying out. What's the benefit to allowing... Anyway, so I don't suppose that'll happen, by the way, the regulation on site at X. I don't think anyone's got any appetite to regulate Elon Musk. I don't really know why either, you know? Like Twitter or X is an app that is damaging to democracies. Now, like, it's not a net positive to have that thing out there, is it? Same with fucking GB News, right? Like, how many instances do we need of these things fucking with us? What's the benefit? that you get by keeping them, by not regulating them. How many examples do we need of them being to your detriment, sort of thing? You know, what have we had? We've the Southport misinformation causing those riots, the constant deluge of death threats in people's DMs, the number of investigations by Ofcom on GB News for disinformation, its owner, GB News' owner, Paul Marshall, being allegedly exposed by the newsagents, and Hope Not Hate as being behind that other weird Twitter account with all the great replacement theory shit on it. The boosting of right-wing accounts, the muting of left-wing accounts. Like, it's all there. It's all out there for you to go and read about if you want to. Go Google, like, New York Times progressive accounts being muted on Twitter. Honestly, go and have a read of it. Like, it's all so fucking weird and hooky and riddled with disinformation and nonsense. Like, what is the good that the Labour government, or that, you know, until recently, the Biden administration were hoping to preserve by allowing Elon Musk's X to remain operational in its current form? What is it that they're seeking to retain by allowing that, by not regulating them? Like, there's other apps out there, isn't there? It's not like X is some core component of the British economy, like it's irreplaceable. We couldn't possibly do without Twitter. But do you know how many people work at Twitter now? Any idea? People in the comments? People listening to this later? Take a wild fucking guess. How many people work for Twitter in the United Kingdom? Do you want to know? It's 114. It's 114 people, according to Google, that work at Twitter. That's how many jobs you're saving by not shutting it down. Like, how funny would it be if we were all, like, seriously lobbying to shut down X? Like, to cancel Twitter, cancel Twitter. Like, if we were really lobbying hard on that for the reasons that I've laid out. And then you had Nigel Farage running to the defense of software engineers, right at the front of the picket line, defending software engineers the same way that he did with fishing and farming. Like, coders are the lifeblood of the British economy. You know, it's a wholesome, traditional British income and livelihoods. That's why I'm here. That's why I'm here at the front of the picket line with my actually, it wouldn't be wellies, would it? He wouldn't be wearing wellies. He'd be holding a fixed gear bike with his fake thick rim glasses on and his latte and his MacBook, cosplaying with coders the same way he did with the farmers the other week. We can't let Keir Starlin shut down the livelihoods of the computer programmers here in Piccadilly Circus, is where Twitter HQ is, I think, for the UK. Do you think it would actually run to the defense of computer programmers if that's where the line, the front line of the culture war went? You know, if we all started lobbying to shut down Twitter, to make its staff redundant, do you think he would be right at the front line for that one? You know, how elastic is this whole deindustrialization thing that he gets behind? Would shutting down Twitter fall into, like, the deindustrialization campaign, or no? No? Anyway, what else are we going to talk about tonight, guys? What else shall we chat about? Douglas Carswell? Shall we talk about Dougie this evening? Douglas Carswell, does anybody remember him? That name ring any bells for you? Douglas Carswell, he used to be a Tory MP way back in the day, and then he defected to UKIP. He was one of those guys. The original Clacton MP defected to UKIP. Now he's back, I think, as a reform guy. I think he's not an MP or a candidate or a councillor or anything, but I think he's just, you know, very much on that train. What I do know about him for sure is that he went on record years ago, over 10 years ago, in fact. He went on record telling prospective UKIP voters that there was no place for racism in their party, right? That was him, because obviously back in the day, UKIP garnered something of a sour reputation because of some of the comments and attitudes and slurs gifted to the media and caught on hot mics and, prior internet posts and stuff. In a very similar way to, some of the Brexit Party people and now some of the Reform Party people. It turns out that they harbour certain attitudes. Well, anyway, back in the day, UKIP had a few of those. And I think one person got caught referring to a Chinese person with an unfortunate slur, and somebody else got caught. So I can't remember what it was now. But anyway, in response to that, Douglas Carswell went on record and he said that there was no place for racism in the UKIP party. That was him then, back in 2014. And now, off the back of this National Inquiry shit this week, he's literally posting this shit. Check this out. This is him on I think it's on Threads. Maybe it's on like Facebook or something. I don't know. But this is allegedly, apparently, reportedly him. Mass deportations of Pakistanis from Britain. I don't care how long you've lived here. Out. That is... that apparently, allegedly, reportedly is Douglas Carswell. Now, that's what he's posting these days. So 10 years ago, there's no place for racism in the UK Independence Party. Now, this week, mass deportations of Pakistanis from Britain. I don't care how long you've lived here. Out. Like, wow, Doug. Wow. I mean, do I even need to say it? Do I need to announce that he is this week's tap dancing tosser? Well, that's absolutely pathetic. Like, if not for any other reason, the fact that he's another one who doesn't even live here. Doesn't even live in the UK. Like he's on about British culture and who needs to be deported. He lives in fucking Mississippi. He's another Oakshott. He's another Richard Littlejohn. These people are parodic. Like, this is how you know that we've been on a journey, isn't it? This is how you know the politics of our day has been propelled to the far right. Because can you imagine a Conservative MP saying this stuff in 2014 when Carswell had the whip? Like this to me feels like, what was it he said? Mass deportations of Pakistanis from Britain. I don't care how long you've lived here. Out like this. Doesn't this sound... This sounds like the thing that the racist UKIPper would have said that then Douglas Carswell tried to sort of like put the fire out. Like, there's no place for racist rhetoric. Doesn't it? This sounds like the thing that he was embarrassed about, that he wanted to distance himself from. And now he's sort of caught up with himself. Can you imagine a Tory MP in David Cameron's administration, in Theresa May's administration, calling for the mass deportation of Pakistani British citizens? Can you imagine them saying that? And now it's just so fucking normalized, isn't it? It's like, I'm talking about it. I'm talking about it on this podcast and talking about how shocking it is. And people in the chat groups that I'm in are talking about it. But honestly, I doubt this post thing will even make the fucking news. Like, that's how normalized it's become. It's all this talk of like, oh, Pakistani men and sexual offences are more likely to be committed by people of foreign origin, and why won't they assimilate and integrate, and is there something just culturally too different? Like, I swear to God, we are about 8 or 9 weeks away max from someone like this, or someone in the shadow cabinet even, Full on dropping the P slur. Dropping the P word. That's where we're headed to. I'm not even joking. I'm not kidding. Someone in the next 2 or 3 months is going to start dropping the P word when talking about Pakistani people. And it'll be all of the same horrible, ugly justifications for it that you remember from the 80s. You know, they'll say it's just short for Pakistani. You know, what's the big deal? They'll say it's freedom of speech. They'll say we're all being too sensitive. Alison Pearson and Toby Young will go on the rounds. They'll make £400 each with the media appearance fee invoice. Jumping on Talk TV and GB News and all of the rest of them, telling us how we're all being silenced. We should be able to say whatever we like. We're being silenced. This is Kafka-esque. Like, honestly, like the shit that would have got you winced at by your mates, that would have got you laughed out the pub or sacked or mocked or questioned by the police only 10 years ago, is almost government policy now. That's where we're at. That's a direction of travel, guys. Okay, last thing I wanted to touch on tonight was my weird news story for the midweek show. Frequent and fervent viewers, listeners will know that, usually once or twice a week we have a weird news story. Something that I found in the depths of Reddit or on CBS News Iowa or something weird, some weird place. Tonight, my weird news story is this. Courthouse News Service. Boss ordered employees to have sex at Bay Area startup. So says witnesses. Yeah! Who says you can't get on with your bosses, right? This guy sounds all right. Boss ordered employees to have sex at Bay Area startup. I mean, this is one way to get the employees back to the office, isn't it? That's all I'm saying. Is these Bay Area startups, they're smart guys. They're innovative visionaries, is what they are. And clearly, this boss, saw a problem, keeping staff at the office, and thought, what can we do about that? And he came up with an idea, and he thought, yeah, this is probably something that people would be interested in. People like to fuck, don't they? So maybe we look into that as some sort of corporate benefit. It says the head of sales at a sex-focused Bay Area startup. Oh, okay, so it's not, it's not unrelated to your job, is it? That makes it a little bit less weird. Like if this was at Walmart and you're 63 years old and working at the checkouts, and then your boss comes over and orders you to get jiggy with Frank from the forklifts, like out in the warehouse, like then you'd be upset, wouldn't you? You'd be upset. I think that would be upsetting. But if you work in the Bay Area, in San Francisco, in the startup scene, it's young, it's vibrant, it's fast-moving, and it's a sex-focused company, maybe it's not that outrageous. It's still a bit weird, but maybe it's not, in the context, maybe it's not that crazy. Like if you work in an Aberdeen steakhouse, maybe it's not that weird if your boss tells you to try the sirloin. Maybe it's... Like, I don't think you can get offended as a vegan if you work in an Aberdeen steakhouse, And if you apply the same logic to this, then it is exactly the same as that. Anyway, the head of sales at a sex-focused Bay Area startup directed employees to have sex to break up tension on the team. Witnesses testified at a federal trial in Brooklyn. Like, what the fuck? To break up tension in the team. Telling people to start fucking each other. ordering your female members of staff to let the men have sex in them is supposed to decrease the tension. It's supposed to improve the working atmosphere as it makes it less awkward, less tense. Does it? Okay. I mean, I don't want to give too much of my own life story away, but I can promise you, the times that I've fucked an employee, a colleague, the times I've had sex with somebody that I've been working with, I can promise you, with a 100% reliability rating, that afterwards, it did absolutely fuck nothing to make things less awkward. It was way more awkward. It actually made things incredibly tense in the office. It says, during a 2013 sales meeting. Okay, so it's quite a while ago. Not recently. Nothing to do with work from home then, I guess. During a 2013 sales meeting, Rachel Churwitz, now 44, was upset that profits were down at the New York City branch of One Taste. A former sales employee named Max testified Thursday. Max said Churwitz attributed the dip to sexual tension between two employees. Tomb sense in the parlance of the company, which witnesses have described as a sex cult. So there's a dip in the profits. She blames it on tumescence. It's a woman. It's a woman, by the way, obviously. Rachel Churwitz. She attributes it to tumescence, which is sexual tension between two employees. And she says, I want you guys to go have sex right now. Oh, man. I don't even know what. Like, I've just got out of a board meeting, and the profits are down, and I've been thinking, me and the board of the directors, we've been thinking about it, and, you know, we could cost cut, and we could up the promo game and try to get more clients in, but we've all unanimously agreed in a board vote that actually, commercially, you two kids just gotta fuck each other. Like, isn't it like, it's like a scene out of a fucking porn or something. The only thing that's going to save this company is if you two fuck each other. Like, what? Do you hear the words that are coming out of your mouth, you horny old bitch? What are you doing? I want you guys to go off and have sex right now. I mean, probably the most tragic thing about this story is that, like, when she said that, the guy was probably like, I mean, yeah, I'm on. The girl was probably like, what the fuck? No, I'm not. And then the guy's like, I'm offended too. Head of sales is like, do you want to be the next Lehman Brothers? Then get your dick out. Get your magic capitalist cock out. Save everybody's 401k. Do it for the company. Okay. I mean, I remember when me and my missus were trying, you know, for our kids, trying to start a family. And, you know, there's a lot of pressure there for men. You know, you got to get hard, stay hard, you know, see it through, leave her satisfied, come, conceive. A lot of pressure there. I don't know how anyone would handle fucking in order to save the pension fund for the entire company. That's a lot of pressure. Let's continue. So she says, I want you guys to go have sex right now. It says, as prosecutors present their forced labor conspiracy case against Churwitz and One Taste founder Nicole Daydone, 57, Max's account backed up previous testimony from Becky, the government's first witness and one of the two employees who followed Churwitz's order before returning to the sales meeting. They went through with it. They actually did it. They were like, I mean, she's the boss. Like, what are we gonna do? They're like, well, I'm not losing my fucking job over this. I cannot move back to Illinois. And then they go and do it. You know, in a disabled bog, in an accessible toilet or something. Just do the deed. I mean, here's the wild thing. Like, how fucking weird would it be if you did go and do it? and then miraculously, magically, profits did go up. If the company did just have an incredibly successful quarter then. What do you mean, like, I mean, to beginning, I was skeptical. Like, when she said, you two have got to fuck, like, that's why profits were down. At the beginning, I was skeptical. I was cynical, I will admit. But then, you know what? Like, we did do it. We did it, and then profits just came climbing and soaring. Clients came through the door. I've got some kind, like, imagine the God complex that man would develop off the back of that fuck. His dick, like, the confidence he would have. Like, any ladies, the very few women who listen to this, yes, I know from the analytics on YouTube, the very few females who bother with this content. Let me know in the comments how insufferable it is when a man does actually sexually satisfy you. The God complex that he develops. The over-the-top confidence that he exhibits after having done something actually quite natural. Just take that hit, right? Park that here. And just imagine for a second, if on top of that, he also saved the fucking company. It says, while Becky couldn't remember the specifics of the sexual encounter, that's not a good sign. She said it was awkward because the man with whom she was told to go have a makeout, which is a one-taste term for sexual activity, he was in a relationship with her friend. Wow. Okay. Who was also in the sales meeting. Christ. God, this gets worse and worse, doesn't it? While the rest of the group waited for the pair to return, that friend, also a friend of Max's, broke down. Max too hit a breaking point, they said. I felt so sick inside. I think that was the moment when I just woke up, Max testified. They left the group a few months later, which is, like, the way that's written, it's weird. That does sound a bit culty, doesn't it? They left the group a few months later. Like, it's a company, right? They left their job a few months later. I mean, I would be out the door. I think I'd be out the door right then. That's weird behavior. That's weird conduct for your sales manager, isn't it? I mean, I know there's a few mavericks out there. I know there's a few people who are like, some people find my methods unconventional. I know there's a few of them, especially in the sales world where everyone's an extrovert. But even you know, that notwithstanding, it's slightly weird conduct, isn't it? Having your manager tell you to go and fuck somebody while at work. It says Max's testimony mirrored Becky's in other ways. Both said they were required to be on call 24 hours a day. They had to respond immediately to text messages during their waking hours and weren't allowed to take sick or vacation days. They lived together in a communal apartment in Harlem known... Okay, so all of this is in New York, even though it's a Bay Area startup, is what I'm getting. They lived together in a communal apartment, a New York sex cult. Known as the Moralino, where One Taste members all shared beds. Including Cherwitz, albeit in a penthouse upstairs. And they were instructed to report on each other to Cherwitz, including whether any residents seemed distant from the group. Like, how does Max seem to you? Does he seem, you know, kind of distracted, kind of something's on his mind, bit distant? Does he seem weird since I pulled him out of his own sales presentation and told him to fuck Bill? Does he seem troubled? But I'm just checking it. I'm a good boss that checks in on her employees is all I'm doing. I'm just checking he's all right. It says, when Daydoni came to visit the New York office, Max and others would clean her room before and after her stay. It was considered an honor to take care of Daydoni. Like, I mean, look, guys, I think we need to wrap this up because this, you know, it's getting late now. But I think what we can glean from this story is that it's hugely troubling. It sounds quite controlly, quite culty. Very, very Bay Area, very startup. Bit weird. bit sort of like, you've got progressive, haven't you? And you've got the sex positive movement. But this sounds a bit weird. This is a little bit beyond that. And I don't know what happened to this company, but I'm glad that it's going through some troubles, some challenges right now. Honestly, you conduct yourself like that, I say just, shut it down. And quick. Before, 80 million Americans get their fucking news from it. Or Farage puts his wellies on and starts calling it like a protected industry. Sorry. Right, that's it, guys. I got to run. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you so much for sticking with me. If you're not on the Patreon yet, please do consider it. As I mentioned at the beginning of the show, it starts at only £1 a month. I will be back on Friday night for the Friday Night Live show. But until then, keep it booge. Keep it influencer. And we are out this motherfucker. Cha.